Welcome to Proven and Probable. Today we're highlighting one of the three companies that comprise the metallic group of companies, which has a commanding land package in the historic Minto Copper District. Today, they're announcing a strategic acquisition. To find out more, stay tuned. But before we begin, as always, I would appreciate if you click the subscribe button and click the bell. Now, on to today's interview. Joining us for a conversation is Tim Johnson of Granite Creek Copper. Mr. Johnson, welcome to the show, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show, sir. Before we get into today's conversation, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight, underscore, and foot stomp the success of Granite Creek Copper share price. You are up 600% since March 23rd, and we haven't even discussed today's press release, which will further increase the shareholder value. What has the market so upbeat about Granite Creek Copper, sir?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with recent action in the metal prices. We in the copper space have been waiting quite a while for the move that copper's made in the past few weeks. That's really helped us and our position where we are on the planet. I mean, we're in one of the best jurisdictions for mineral development in the world. The Yukon is a great place to operate, and I think those things combined, and the fact that we're actually doing something. We've got people on the ground. All those things has helped us move our share price to where it is today.
Mr. Johnson, I referenced that GCX is looking to further increase shareholder value, and this time it's through a strategic acquisition with one of your neighbors, Copper North, to increase your footprint in the highly prolific Minto Copper District, where you have your flagship Stu Copper project. What can you share with us?
Yeah, so we've just announced an offer to acquire all the issued and outstanding shares of Copper North. We already own 30% of those shares, so this is a further acquisition. We acquired that initial 30% in December of last year. And we see this as a very interesting strategic move as a consolidation of the second largest land position within the highly prospective Minto Copper Belt. So we will be, there'll only be two of us in the belt. There'll be us and the Minto mine just to the north of us, about 30 kilometers away. So we're quite excited about that. What this allows us to do is to combine a preliminary economic assessment stage project and the Carmacks project owned by Copper North with our highly prospective ground on the Stu project. Combined land package is going to be about 176 square kilometers, good road access, good access to infrastructure like power. So we're pretty excited about snapping these two projects together.
Expand on that for us on some of the common synergies that you will share with the Carmacks deposit there. You talked about infrastructure.
Yeah, so right now to access our Stu project, you go through the Carmacks project, right through up to ours. So that's an advantage that we've already got built out road access all the way through to most parts of our property. We share the geology for both projects. There's high-grade pods of copper, and some of them that we suspect actually cross the current claim boundary. So exploration can actually open up now that these two properties are going to be put together, and we can determine if there are resources right there across the boundaries, and we don't have to be shy about drilling right up to the claim boundary. We can just keep drilling right across it.
How will this acquisition of Copper North enhance the economics of the Stu Copper project?
Well, it's great, creating the potential for a really significant contained copper project. Currently, the Carmacks deposit on an oxide and sulfide combined basis has somewhere around 500 million pounds of copper. We believe we have the ground on the Stu project to significantly grow that resource, and our target is over 1 billion pounds. So what we want to do now is go back and see the areas that we can quickly drill off resources to try to reach that target.
Sorry for the interruption, folks, but I do want to remind you, everything we're covering today with Mr. Johnson, you can find in the description box below. And if you like our content, I would appreciate if you give us a thumbs up. Now, back to the interview. As a shareholder, this is really encouraging news. And if we expand and include the narrative on the entire copper space, and then you include the strategic advantage that you have with oxide versus sulfide on the Stu, can you just expand for that for us?
Yeah, so that's an interesting point that you bring up. The Carmacks deposit, again, currently owned by Copper North, and we're acquiring it, has a preliminary economic assessment that contemplates a 7-year mine of oxide only. Now, underlying that oxide resource, there is significant potential for a large sulfide resource. And then on our Stu property, just across the claim boundary, we have both oxide and sulfide. So when you start to put these together, you can see there's two very interesting development paths. You develop that oxide resource, and once you've gone down through that and you're into the sulfide resource, you either look at developing that or you look at other players in the belt who have a sulfide mill just to the north of us. So it opens up a whole range of ways that we can develop those two resources, and we're pretty excited about that.
I hope I'm not asking too much here, but does Granite Creek plan on conducting drilling this year?
We do. It is going to be a bit challenging. We're getting late in the season. And with the ramp up of exploration in the Yukon, crews are hard to find. We do have a drill potentially for sort of mid to late September, and we're working on the logistics of getting all that together. So yes, if all the pieces fall in place, we do want to drill this fall yet.
Oh, that's exciting. All right, sir. What is the next unanswered question for Granite Creek Copper? When can we expect a response, and what determines success?
Well, I'll remind your listeners and yourself that we did do a program this summer where we reassayed a bunch of the historic core in the Stu project from our A zone. This was a program that had been drilled in 1980. There had been limited assays done on that core, and it wasn't really a full spectrum assay. They only assayed for the copper, and the precious metals weren't a complete assay. So we expect results back from that very soon. And once we can collate those results and get those out to the market, I think that's going to be really interesting, and that's going to inform us on what we need to do to publish resources on our A zone. And when then we combine those with the Carmacks resources, we think it's going to be a very compelling story.
Last question, sir. What did I forget to ask?
Well, you touched on it, and that's the macroeconomics of the copper space. We see a shortfall in the near term and probably for a significant number of years out. I think $3 copper is only the beginning. As the world moves towards electrification, there's no substitute for copper. Even if you look at the battery metal space, where everybody's arguing about whether they should be more nickel or more cobalt or what the battery chemistry it is, for copper it doesn't matter. The more battery operated cars there are in the world, the more copper we're going to need, and the more energy storage there is in the world, the more copper we're going to need. So it's going to be a really exciting space to be in. I won't predict a copper price, but I think it's definitely moving up from here, and I think like I said, I think $3 is only a start.
We've highlighted this in the past, but the world is going to consume more copper in the next 25 years than all of recorded history. And it's prudent for investors to take this opportunity to find companies that have a strong foothold in the copper space with proven management, and you're having it right here in Granite Creek Copper and Tim Johnson. Mr. Johnson, before we close, if somebody listening wants to get more information on Granite Creek Copper, please share the website address.
Yes, we're at www.gcxcopper.com.
Mr. Johnson, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you today, sir. Wishing you and Granite Creek Copper the absolute best, sir.
Thank you, Maurice.
Granite Creek Copper trades on the TSX.V symbol GCX, and Granite Creek Copper is a sponsor of Proven and Probable, and we are proud shareholders for the virtues conveyed in today's message. Before you make your next bullion purchase, make sure you call me. I'm a licensed representative to buy and sell physical precious metals through Miles Franklin Precious Metals Investments, but we have several options to expand your precious metals portfolio, from physical delivery of gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and rhodium to offshore depositories and precious metal IRAs, and there is no minimum required. Also, you can reach me at 855-505-1900, or you may email Maurice@milesfranklin.com. Finally, please subscribe to Proven and Probable for mining insights and bullion sales. Subscription is free.
The information presented on Proven and Probable is provided for educational and informational purposes only, without any express or implied warranty of any kind, including warranties of accuracy, completeness, or fitness for any particular purpose. The information is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice, or any other advice. You should not make any financial, investment, or trading decision based on any of the information presented without first undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional broker or competent financial advisor.